Alright, this is a lesson on mentoring logistics. So let's talk about what it actually means to be a mentor. Mentorship isn't about giving students all the answers, it's about building a partnership rooted in accountability, curiosity, and growth. Whether you're working with a first-time competitor or a returning finalist, the responsibilities you take on as a mentor shape their experience and their success. This section outlines the core responsibilities of your role, from goal setting and time management to providing thoughtful feedback and planning ahead. Let's dive in. Assessing a mentee's learning needs. This section covers the basics of getting to know your mentee and being able to establish a connection with them to be able to help them to the best of your ability. Your first session sets the tone. It's not just about diving into content, it's about discovery. What makes the student tick? What's their story? Always start by asking questions. Some examples of questions you can ask are, what's your experience with DECA so far? Which parts are you most comfortable with? What do you find confusing or overwhelming? How do you usually study best? And have you ever competed at the state or international level? Also, incorporate emotional check-ins. What's something you're proud of from last year? What's something you're nervous about? Now, these conversations reveal gaps, but they can also help to reveal the student's motivation, and that is your secret weapon in tailoring your mentorship to best benefit specific students. Pro tip: keep informal notes. You don't need a formal file, but tracking their past struggles and goals helps you design sessions that feel personalized and thoughtful. How to balance accessibility. Being accessible means being approachable without being on call 24/7. Support doesn't just start when the Zoom call begins. As a mentor, your preparedness directly affects the quality of the session and confidence of your student. Additionally, a mentor's job doesn't always stop the moment the call ends. Students may need clarification on a concept they're reviewing, a reminder about homework expectations, or a boost of confidence before a big event. How to strike the balance. Establish availability early on. Let your student know when and how they can reach you. Set communication windows. If you're available for quick questions outside of sessions, define the window. For example, 5 to 6 p.m. daily. Use scheduling tools. Calendly or Google Calendar invites can reduce back and forth and give both of you visual clarity on meeting times. Respect your own time. If a student messages during your unavailable hours, model healthy boundaries by responding during your next scheduled time. It teaches them to value your time as well. So what is proper preparation? One of the biggest mistakes mentors can make is assuming that they can wing it. When you show up unprepared, you waste valuable time, risk confusing your student, and signal that their work isn't worth reviewing. Your student will mirror your energy. If you come in organized and intentional, so will they. Preparation means review submitted work in advance. Whether it's a rough draft, a case study outline, or even a simple practice response, read it before the session. Come ready with specific questions or areas to highlight. Compile notes and resources. Have bullet points or margin comments ready. Students feel seen when you remember details of their previous work and connect them to current goals. Additionally, if you know a student is struggling with, for example, SWOT analysis, don't just explain it. Again, bring an example or a mini activity to apply it. Custom preparation makes the session feel personalized and high quality. Prepare sample responses or models. Many students learn best by comparison. If you're reviewing a written entry, bring a strong example to contrast with theirs and break down what makes it successful. Personalizing goal systems. Tailor the experience, goal setting, and accountability. No two students are alike, and that's exactly why great mentoring isn't one size fits all. As a mentor, your job is to help them clarify that vision and then build a roadmap to get there. Pro tip: establish a personalized goal system for your student. Start this process by asking one simple but essential question. What does success look like for you? This question opens the door to everything else. Regardless of their answer, you can almost always turn it into a SMART goal. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. The key is to make goals that are concrete and trackable so both you and your student can measure progress. An example is, a vague goal would be get better at role plays, while a tailored SMART goal would be complete 3 timed role plays and score myself using the performance indicators rubric by the end of the week. To establish learning objectives, Reflect on the student's goal system and whether they're currently struggling or stuck. Choose one focus for each session, 2 at most. Communicate the objective at the start. For example, today, let's focus on strengthening your judge introduction and tying it back to your company's value proposition. End the session by revisiting the objective. Do you feel more confident in that area? What would you still like to work on? Pro tip: use the performance indicators, PIs, or rubric rows as anchors. Objectives that connect directly to the rubric make your session more competition-focused and judge-relevant. Healthy accountability: how to hold your mentee accountable, but with empathy. Accountability isn't about judgment. It's about honest, supportive follow-through. It's natural for students to hit roadblocks, busy schedules, stress, confusion, or burnout. Your role is to create a mentorship environment where it's safe to struggle, but not to stay stuck. How to practice healthy accountability. Follow up intentionally. Don't ask, did you do it? Ask, how did that task go? What came up when you tried to work on it? Where did you get stuck? These questions focus on reflection, not shame. Celebrate micro wins. If they only finished half the goal but finally understood a hard concept, celebrate that. Progress is progress. Help analyze setbacks. Missed the deadline? Instead of frustration, use it as a learning moment. Was the goal too big? Was there a time management issue? Did they need more direction from you? Show them that missed goals aren't failures, they're feedback. Adjust the system if necessary. If a student isn't meeting goals week after week, don't just push harder. Collaborate to modify the plan. Shorter tasks, different tools, or more support between sessions. Avoid generic tips. When a student says, I don't know how to study, it's tempting to respond with advice like just use flashcards or review your notes every day. But while well-intentioned, these tips are usually too vague to be helpful. Instead, be specific and connect each suggestion to the student's actual needs and goals. For example, instead of practice more, try let's aim to complete 1 mock exam per week using questions tagged with your weakest cluster areas. I'll help you identify those today. Instead of work on your intro, try let's go through the first 15 seconds of your pitch. Does it clearly answer what the company does and why it matters? What are 3 ways we could sharpen that? Pro tip: how to make suggestions more specific. 1. Tie it to a rubric row or DECA skill set. 2. Connect it to their past work or performance. 3. Add a why that explains the benefit. 4. Make it an actionable something that they can do today. The goal is to equip the student with strategy, not just tasks. When students understand why something works, they're more motivated and more likely to use it correctly on their own. Provide direction, not orders. Great mentors don't give answers, they teach students how to find them. This doesn't mean withholding help or being cryptic. It means shifting your role from instructor to guide, someone who helps the student build the tools to self-assess, improve, and make decisions. One of the most effective techniques is guided questioning, asking strategic, open-ended questions that lead the student to reflect, reevaluate, or connect ideas. Some examples of guided questions are, what would a judge see or hear in your first 30 seconds? If you were scoring this section as an outsider, what would stand out? How do you think this draft aligns with the rubric row on strategic decision making? You've added a new marketing channel. How would we measure if it's working? These questions challenge the student to defend their reasoning and refine their thinking. It empowers them instead of making them dependent on you. Prepare progress reports. You don't need to create formal documents, but as a mentor, you should be able to articulate how your student has improved, identify patterns in their work or performance, and suggest areas that still need reinforcement. Progress reports help you track growth, but they can also help your mentee see it. Students often forget how far they've come, especially if they're still focused on what isn't working. How to track progress informally. Keep a mentor journal with a few lines after each session. For example, today focused on SWOT analysis. Student was able to differentiate between weaknesses and threats by the end. Use shared documents where you and the student rate confidence on different rubric categories or skill areas week by week. During sessions, reflect aloud. At the beginning, you were really unsure about your conclusions. Now, you're writing ones that actually tie back to your strategy. That's real growth. Pro tip: Every 3 to 4 weeks, consider doing a structured review. Ask the following questions. What goals have we met? What areas still feel challenging? What new goals should we set? This helps keep both of you accountable and aligned. Punctuality is professionalism. Being on time is a small act that speaks volumes. It shows your student that you take the session and their time seriously. Inconsistent or late mentors can leave students feeling unimportant or unsure of what to expect. Always uphold best practices in sessions. Always join virtual sessions a few minutes early to prepare your materials and check your setup. If you're running late or need to reschedule, communicate as far in advance as possible and offer alternative options. Encourage your student to mirror this behavior by modeling it yourself. Design your sessions with purpose. Structure gives students confidence. Without it, sessions can feel scattered, repetitive, or aimless. Each mentoring session should have a plan, whether it's written down or mentally mapped, so both you and your mentee know what to expect. A sample session breakdown for a 60-minute session can look like 5 to 10 minutes. Check in and review progress since last session. 30 to 35 minutes. Main lesson focus. For example, scoring a mock case or reviewing a business plan draft. Final 10 to 15 minutes. Feedback, Q&A, and assigning or refining goals for next session. This structure also helps prevent rushed endings or unfinished topics. It also gives students room to mentally prepare and focus. Set and adjust pacing based on student needs. Every student learns at a different pace. Some need time to process and reflect, others benefit from fast, repetitive drills. Pacing isn't about cramming more in, it's about doing the right amount, the right way. Some tips for adjusting pacing are: pay attention to body language or tone changes. If a student gets quieter or confused, slow down and ask for understanding. Don't be afraid to pause for reflection. A 5-minute discussion on why an answer was incorrect can have more impact than drilling 10 new questions. If you're consistently running out of time, reassess your session plan. You may need to scale back content or assign more self-guided tasks. Use time between sessions wisely. Time management isn't limited to what happens during the meeting. Strong mentors leverage the space between sessions to maintain momentum and reinforce progress. Some suggestions. Send a short summary after each session highlighting what was covered, what went well, and what should be worked on next. Assign clear, bite-sized homework or prep tasks that connect to the student's learning goals. These help students stay engaged and prevents the next session from becoming a catch-up session. Use policy sheets and calendars to set expectations. When expectations around time aren't communicated, confusion or frustration builds. That's why we strongly recommend having a basic policy sheet or shared calendar system, especially for long-term mentoring relationships. Pro tip: include the following in your policy sheets: your availability and expected response time, cancellation or rescheduling policies, for instance, 24-hour notice, preferred communication method, email, chat, or platform inbox, and a calendar with agreed upon session dates and times. This is not about being rigid, it's about setting mutual respect and boundaries so both parties feel secure and informed. Closing. A role builds on intentional action. Mentoring is not winging it. It's planning ahead, listening actively, and delivering consistent, high-quality support. When you define your responsibilities clearly and follow through on them, you don't just help your students improve, you help them believe in their own potential. So, be the kind of mentor that you would have wanted when you were just starting out. Prepared, present, and purpose-driven. Let's build something lasting, one student at a time. Thank you for supporting us.